Right now on Chasing News, women in the spotlight as what may become one of the most historic midterm elections is underway.
All of the women across this country are rising up.
A woman leads the polls in New York, where no matter the outcome, voters will elect the first African-American Attorney General. We'll bring you the story of a retired Navy pilot who thinks she has what it takes to beat a New Jersey assemblyman, and a romance novelist who's determined to become Georgia's first female and black governor. Turnout is key, and voters aren't being shy.
No matter what, I'm going to vote today.
It is exciting.
I feel great.
And talk about not being shy. Every single one of our A-plus panelists is here and ready for battle. And Oprah, Kanye, and Taylor Swift. See what happens when we talk about celebrities influencing elections.
I'm for it.
I'm Bill Spadea, and this is our special Election Day edition of Chasing News. A lot of excitement tonight here in our studio and, of course, at the polls, where you and voters across the country decide the fate of people running for Congress, Senate, governor, attorney general, you name it. A lot of people on the ballot, and the results of this election could determine the next 2 years of the Trump presidency. We've got all the bases covered for you. Nate Rogers is standing by in New York as voters decide on a governor, an attorney general, and a key congressional seat where a young Latina is in the spotlight. Monica Guy has all the happenings in New Jersey, where the battle for a U.S. Senate seat became brutal, with longtime incumbent going up against a retired Marine. And when it comes to Chasing News, it's all about our A-plus panelists. All 9 of them are here to weigh in on the races that matter to you and, of course, have a little fun. Hey, we'll take that. All right, that is all the time. Let's get started in New York. We're going right to our own Nate Rogers. Nate?
Well, Bill, I got to tell you, today's foggy and drizzly weather isn't stopping voters from heading to the polls. In fact, today here in Brooklyn at PS 11, we've seen a steady stream of voters. Now, this location is also the polling place for State Attorney General candidate Letitia James. Now, it'll be a historic win for James if elected, as she'd be the state's first African-American female Attorney General. Now, her opponent, Bill Keith Wofford, has criticized James, saying she wouldn't be aggressive enough in tackling corruption throughout the state. And of course, another key race is the 14th Congressional District. Rising progressive candidate Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez gained national attention, Bill, after, of course, her victory during the primary, defeating incumbent Congressman Joe Crowley. Ocasio-Cortez's opponent, Anthony Pappas, has been under scrutiny after reports of domestic violence involving his wife. But Bill, back here at PS 11 in Brooklyn, election officials say citywide they've seen a heavy voter turnout so far. Take a look at this long line, as well as inside here, the school gymnasium, which is flooded with people, Bill, as folks are waiting to cast their ballot. I talked to a few voters about the issues most important to them. Take a listen to what they had to say.
Healthcare, the environment, immigration, women's reproductive rights.
You know, we want to see a change in the House and the Senate, so we definitely want some balance of power. So that's why it was important for me to be here. Also, healthcare.
And finally, Bill, other than the long lines, voters here didn't have too many complaints, all just excited to participate in today's election. Bill?
All right, thank you, Nate. Let's bring in our first A-plus panel for tonight's show. We're joined by the founder of the Save Jersey blog and a Republican, Matt Rooney. Good to see you, Matt. Afia Yunus, immigration attorney and progressive, back with us. Good to see you, Afia. And Democratic Councilman Peter Brown from Linden. Afia, I'm going to start with you. The governor noticeably absent from this discussion. I mean, I think he wins in a walk, and I have to believe if that's happening, that it's going to impact the attorney general race. What strikes me, and I want to get your take on it, diversity has finally transcended party lines. You have an African-American running on both sides for attorney general.
Yeah, and it's about time, Bill. I think the say of the day is diverse candidates and voter turnout. And I think that's what's the silver lining of this whole election day today.
Matt, does this shatter that whole idea, this myth that you have to vote for a certain party based on the color of your skin?
Sure it does, but New York and places like New Jersey, too, have been diverse for a long time. What we really need is ideological diversity. We need new ideas to expand the prosperity we're seeing nationwide in New York as well.
Peter, what do you think? I mean, you've had a change. We've had recent polls come out, even with regard to President Trump. In one poll, 40% of black Americans saying they support what he stands for.
But Bill, I totally agree with Matt, is that it's good to see that we have this diversity as far as the political views. I mean, if we're going to move this country forward, we do need diversification, both on the Democratic and the Republican side. I think this is, at the end of the day, everybody wins.
Real quick, in the little time we have, Latina socialist, Ocasio-Cortez. Matt, what do you say? It seems to me that this is the Democrats' worst nightmare playing out.
If I knew Democrats were definitely going to take over the House anyway, Bill, I'd move up there and vote for her because I want her and Maxine Waters on the news 24/7 after today.
I see it as the Republicans' fear of Ocasio-Cortez manifesting as, oh, put her in the spotlight and let's see what happens. Let's see what happens, I say.
Peter, you're a Democrat. I mean, she's a socialist. She's not. She's only running as a Democrat, but she's a self-proclaimed socialist.
And I agree. I think some of her ideas are too left for someone like me. However, I think if the Democrats do gain control of the House, I think her ideas would quiet down, and I think we would be able to move back towards the center.
All right, New Yorkers, you still got a little under 2 hours to get out there and have your voice heard. Thanks, guys. Let's turn to that all-important subject of voter security. We had reports in New York today, long lines at some polling stations as reports of some scanners not functioning properly with some voters because of the line turning away and just heading off to work. Had another case in New Jersey. Somebody called my radio show and said that they were actually told they had already voted because somebody else had signed the book and voted as them. Let's bring in a legal expert, our A+ panelist, Bob Bianchi, former prosecutor and now defense attorney. Bob, welcome back.
Thank you, Bill. Good to be here.
Voter security, are we doing enough about it, Bob? It seems simple enough to me that if the guy proved he was who he was by showing an ID, why aren't we asking for ID on the front end?
Well, I mean, there's obviously a lot of issues that have to be balanced, Bill, about previous attempts at voter suppression with regard to asking for IDs. But I really don't think that that is the major problem. If you're reading these news articles about what's going on in New Jersey and New York, it is just amateur hour. I mean, you can't even believe it. Doors that aren't open and firemen have to break them down when the polling place is supposed to be open because they don't have keys. Machines that are brought from the wrong districts that have to be stopped and then people have to sign affidavits to vote.
That happened in Long Branch today. Unbelievable.
Yeah, not enough voting machines. You know, it was disgusting to watch. I was saying with my wife yesterday that people in down south, when they had early voting, were wrapped around the block waiting for hours and hours. You know, I'm just saying the malfeasance creates voter suppression.
Bob, why not voting online? We do all our banking online. So many secure things that we do are left in the hands of the security on the internet. I get the hacking scare, but haven't we gone beyond standing at a polling line to vote on a paper ballot?
Bill, it's a great question, but, you know, let's put the politics aside for a moment. We know that there are foreign countries that are trying to infiltrate our voting system. And I don't know. I'm uncomfortable with it.
All right. Well, it seems to me it's a technology problem that needs a technology solution because guess what? You're not enfranchised at all if somebody else is voting in your place and signing your name. All right. We'll see. Real quick, 10 seconds. Do you think it's going to impact the outcome of any election?
Of course. I mean, listen, the fact that you can't have your vote registered or that you walk away from the polls because they can't do it impacts elections. It's anti-democratic. I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. Yeah. Guys in the government, get it straight.
All right, fix it. Thank you. Appreciate it, Bob. Incumbent Senator Bob Menendez facing a fierce challenge from former pharmaceutical exec and former U.S. Marine Bob Hugin, who is hoping to capitalize on the Democratic incumbent's falling approval ratings following his corruption trial and become New Jersey's first elected Republican senator in nearly 50 years. Also in New Jersey, Republican Assemblyman Jay Weber is up against former Navy pilot Mikey Sherrill for the District 11 congressional seat, which has been held by Republican Rodney Frelinghuysen since 1995. Monica Guy spent the day in New Jersey. Monica, what do you got for us?
Bill, it's such a big day for democracy in the United States. One of New Jersey's 2 seats in the U.S. Senate is up for grabs, and Democratic incumbent Bob Menendez wants voters to give him a 3rd term, while his Republican challenger Bob Hugin is hoping they'll give him a chance. After casting his ballot this morning in Harrison, Senator Menendez told reporters that the results of these midterm elections will have a big impact on the country.
The stakes are too high. It has never mattered more. If we want to put a check and balance on the Trump administration, the only way to do it is by changing the Congress.
Hugin also hit the polls bright and early. He was in Summit to vote.
The people of Jersey deserve better. My whole life has been about being an independent leader, working with people to produce results, not just talk about things. So I'm excited.
The spotlight is also on the 11th Congressional District. Republican State Assemblyman Jay Weber is squaring off against Democratic challenger Mikey Sherrill. Weber was with some of his family when he voted in Morris Plains.
The campaign's been challenging, but invigorating. I've loved every minute of it because it's the right thing to do at the right time, and I feel like we've done it the right way.
Also surrounded by her family, Democrat Mikey Sherrill voted in Montclair.
I think there's a real energy here in New Jersey with this idea that we know what our values are, we know what we need to do to move the country forward, we know what we need to do to make sure we're competing in this economy, and we're going to try to have good results at the polls and then bring our vision to Washington.
Some say the political climate in Washington, D.C. is not only motivating more women to run for political office, but also stirring up otherwise uninterested voters.
All of these women, not just Mikey, but all of the women across this country are rising up and not only running for office, we're going to elect them to office.
Well, I think that's not only our right, but our civic duty to do something to change the things we believe in. And if we don't vote, we have no stance on doing that.
And Bill, the polls are open until 8 o'clock tonight. So in the words of one of those voters we spoke with, there's still plenty of time for folks to do their civic duty. Reporting for Chasing News, I'm Monica Guy. Bill?
Thanks, Monica. Okay, let's bring in our next A-plus panel for tonight's show. We are joined by Lisa Durden, pop culture expert and former candidate for lieutenant governor on the Green Party. Good to see you, Lisa. And Jeanette Hoffman back with us, Republican strategist. Always good to see you, Jeanette.
Thanks, Bill.
And Democratic strategist and attorney, Bill Caruso. Bill, I don't always say that as a negative. As
it's
attorney.
good.
I am going to start with you.
I embrace it.
Two big races. This is one of the targeted national races, talking about Jay Weber and Mikey Sherrill. I talked to Jay this morning on the radio. It seems to me that this thing may not be decided by the time the polls close.
It's possible, but this is a bellwether race, and what so goes the country, goes this district, and I think that's what we're looking at. And if Sherrill doesn't win this race, we don't take back the House on our side of the aisle.
Jeanette, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I think this is one of those races that everyone around the country is looking at to see if the Democrats take back the House. It's an open seat. It's a Republican seat. President Trump won this seat by 1 vote, so I'm very confident that Jay Weber, who's been an assemblyman, who's represented the district for many years, is going to pull this out, and it's not going to be a blue wave after all, Bill.
Yeah, I think the Democrats are going to have it this year. I think Sherrill's going to get in. She's very strong. I think what screwed him up was because of the way that they believe in immigration and locking children up in cages and that kind of thing. She's very strong against that. So she's about, having some realistic immigration laws. She's not against ICE, but I think it's going to help because she has a little compassion.
Jeanette, was this all about the women's vote and the portrayal of Jay Weber as anti-woman?
It may be. I mean, it's very easy to twist some of his votes around. However, I will, mention that Mikey Sherrill has kind of run as a Republican. She's put on a lot of her literature talking about taxes because it is a conservative district.
Many have done that.
So if she does win,
Trump used to be a Democrat as well.
Let's switch gears for a minute. Only got 30 seconds. Bill, has the corruption tolerance in New Jersey risen to a new level with the tight race with Bob Hugin and Bob Menendez?
The election of this president changed the game over. And I think people are more tolerant of voting for party right now and over other issues. And I think that's what's going on.
Well, I think Bob Menendez is probably one of the most corrupt politicians New Jersey has ever seen. And that's saying a lot, Bill. So if he wins this race, it's going to be very disturbing for a lot of voters in New Jersey. I don't think the Democratic turnout is going to be as high as the Democrats want to be.
Lisa, what do you think?
No, I agree. I think Bob Menendez and Bob Hugin are both bad for the state of New Jersey. But I think because of what's going on with the culture, Democrats have always been strong in New Jersey. We haven't voted in the Republicans since 1972.
New Jersey, you got about an hour and a half left. Get out there and make your choice known. Welcome back to Chasing News. I'm Bill Spadea. We've still got a lot more show for you tonight. Celebrities weighing in and getting actively involved in this year's midterm elections. Did it influence your vote? But first, I want to talk about some national races. We could see a historic first in Georgia, where a black woman is poised to potentially become that state's governor. Let's bring in our third A-plus panel for tonight's show. Radio talk show host and Democrat Garland Nixon joins us via Skype. Good to see you, Garland. How are you?
Wonderful.
And Republican strategist Allison Young in studio. Good to see you, Allison.
Hey, Bill.
All right, Garland, I'm going to start with you. It seems that you had Oprah Winfrey literally campaigning for Stacey Abrams, who is a former legislator. She's a romance novelist. She could become the first black woman governor of Georgia, but it seems that her poll numbers aren't as good as you might think after Oprah came in. Do you think that helped or hurt her?
I don't think it really made a difference. I think people have long made up their mind what they're going to do. I do think that Stacey Abrams has a great chance because the turnout numbers are going to be so high for Democrats. I think she's going to take it by a couple points.
Allison, do you agree? Brian Kemp running a strong race, and you've got accusations of voter fraud now that just popped up in the last week.
Brian Kemp is a Secretary of State. He's in charge of overseeing the election process. So voter fraud that they're alleging on the Democrats' part, trying to hack the registration system. But the real story here is we may not know tonight who wins this race because we are likely in a runoff election where one of the candidates, if they don't get 50% tonight, and neither of the candidates are polling above 50, if they don't, then we'll have a runoff in December 4th.
Runoff in December. All right, let's move to Texas. Staying with the South, national election. President helping out his old adversary, Ted Cruz. Beto O'Rourke, a member of Congress, raised an astounding amount of money and has all the national attention, but it looks like Ted Cruz poised to win. Allison?
Ted Cruz is going to pull this out, and I think the message here is, even though Beto O'Rourke raised twice what Ted Cruz did, a lot of it from Hollywood and New York, it's not going to influence the election in Texas, but $100 million spent on this race.
Garland, does this show that money can't necessarily buy a race? Obviously, we don't know the outcome yet. Polls are still open there, but what do you think?
Look, the bottom line is every party wants to go to their adversary's stronghold and get a victory, and we always try to do that. You know, we'll say Utah or Georgia or whatever's in play. I don't think they get the victory in Texas, but I do think they swipe one, maybe Georgia or Florida.
All right, let's flip really quick to Florida. This could have implications in the 2020 presidential election. You've got Ron DeSantis up against Andrew Gillum. He could be the first black governor of Florida. He's mayor of Tallahassee, but he's got an FBI investigation clouding his race. How's that going to play?
I don't think that comes into effect. I don't think that's going to make a difference. I think it's going to be about, he's a more charismatic candidate. And I think, bringing in the big guns, Obama, et cetera, is going to make a difference, get the turnout a little bit more. He pulls that one out by 3 points.
Allison, allegations of corruption don't seem to matter in New Jersey. That race is close. Does Garland have a point?
I think he does have a point, but charisma should not be your deciding factor when voting for the candidate. They've both brought in the big guns. President Trump has been there for DeSantis. Barack Obama has been there for Gillum, but I think the corruption investigation is real, and unfortunately, we're going to see someone, if it's not him, someone in his administration indicted within the first 2 years.
All right, could be another one that goes late into this evening. Thank you, guys. All right, let's check out the headlines we're chasing for you tonight. Mail bomb suspect Cesar Sayoc's first day in a New York court tops the headlines we're chasing tonight. A New York federal court judge ruled Sayoc would be held without bond on charges he mailed pipe bombs to multiple high-profile Democratic politicians, including President Obama and Hillary and President Clinton. Sayoc's attorney says he will plead not guilty to the charges. Tonight, the NYPD wants you to help identify this man in connection with a sexual assault on a 13-year-old boy. The attack happened Sunday behind the Hands Deli in Queens. The boy was treated and released from a local hospital. Police say the suspect is known as Mel and was last seen wearing a New York Mets cap and black sneakers. Talk about a crappy flight. A Miami man had to contend with dog feces during a flight from Atlanta to Miami last week. The man posted these pics on Facebook. He says his shoes and legs were covered and claims he received little help from flight attendants. Delta Airlines has apologized, saying a service dog on the previous flight was ill and had an accident. And those are the headlines we're chasing for you tonight.
Over the next few hours, we're going through a bit of a weather transition from wet to dry and from cloudy to clear. In fact, by midnight tonight, I think we're going to see crystal clear skies with some pleasant weather days ahead. So by the time you wake up Wednesday morning, skies should be bright and sunny. It's not going to be that chilly. We'll see low temperatures right around 50 degrees. Some spots will be in the 40s. You'll probably want a jacket as you head out the front door for your Wednesday. High temperature tomorrow, 62 degrees. Still on the mild side of normal. We'll see some clouds start to build in the afternoon, may become mostly cloudy tomorrow night, and some models have suggested some rain moves in, just showers and sprinkles. I'm opting for a dry forecast tomorrow for now. We move into Thursday, and here comes our next cool down. No more 60s, we only top out in the mid-50s or so, but again, plenty of sunshine, a decent early November day. Friday will be our next chance for rain. This storm system could dump a lot of rain on top of us, maybe an inch or two, so we'll have to be on the lookout for possible flooding concerns. Saturday, the sun comes out, but look at those temperatures just getting cooler and cooler over the weekend. By Sunday, high temperatures may only be in the 40s. I'm meteorologist Dan Zero.
Thanks, Dan. Right after the break, hey, did a celebrity getting involved in the elections this year influence your vote? Celebrities involved across the country. Our panel is going to vote. Was it a positive or a negative? That's it. Welcome back to Chasing News. I'm Bill Spadea. Did a celebrity influence your vote today? Well, we have plenty of celebrities weighing in on this election, especially Kanye West and Taylor Swift. So what I want to do is wrap the show up tonight with a little bit of fun. I want to bring back our A+ panelists and ask them, do you think that they had more of a positive or a negative impact on the election? Guys?
I no longer care what celebrities think about politics. I just don't. I don't find them credible.
I think Kanye West is a mess. I think we have the Oprah effect. When Oprah says vote for Obama, we did that. When Oprah says go to Atlanta and vote, we're going to see different.
I
disagree. Matt and then Jeanette.
It's all about the dragon energy, Bill. It's going to spur Republicans to victory.
We can't get celebrities out of politics whether we like it or not.
They're
Our
people
president
too.
is a celebrity. Let's face it.
But I think if anything's going to get the youth involved in politics, I'm for it.
Yep. Right, so Kanye West, thank you, Kanye, for doing an outstanding job. And I mean that. All right, take a quick vote. I've got 7 of you here. Show of hands. Positive impact. 4. That's it? Really? You're negatives. You're out. So who's negative? Negative?
Definitely negative.
Really? Peter, negative?
Allison? Kanye West proved.
Right.
Don't listen to celebrities. Tune into Chasing News. That's all you need.
Hey, we'll take that. All right, that is all the time we have. Remember, you've still got about an hour and a half to get to the polls. And remember, tomorrow we'll be back at our usual time at 11 o'clock. Enjoy the rest of your night. See you tomorrow.